Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.
And go. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Build, Paint, Play. I'm Dave. I didn't hear you.
Oh.
What happened?
What? You can't hear me?
I didn't hear you. Yeah, something happened.
That's. Can
you
you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
That's weird.
It was just at that very, very crucial moment.
All right, weird. All right, so I'm still Jake.
Fantastic. Were you Jake
Right,
last
awesome.
week?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Will you be Jake next week?
I mean, I could go with Oz. I don't know.
I'm going to say please be Jake because I don't want to have to change the little name
Fine.
tag.
That's fine. That's all good.
Excellent. Good. Just quickly, just want to say hi to Ryan. Hi to Tabletop Test Drive. That's I'll recognize it this week.
That's Rick.
Hey Rick. Hey Jay. John says I'm still Jake. Excellent. Yes, it was fun watching him count in, wasn't it? Because I accidentally hit transition early. That was the problem. It's not professional, folks. Nobody's paying us for this.
Yeah, we're trying. We're trying.
If we wanted professional, I'd pay somebody else to do it, not me.
Seriously, we need a whole staff.
Yep, that'd be awesome.
We need an editor and a producer.
Yep, they can just show up every.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Every Tuesday night.
6:45.
Awesome. Boom.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I think that'd be great.
It would be excellent. But yes, welcome everybody. Scott has joined us. Jeff has joined us. Hey. Professionals stand on street corners. Some of them do.
That's true.
Absolutely fine.
That's a valid point.
Nice. So how have things been for you hobby-wise in the last week? Have you been able to get anything done?
I built a bunch of stuff. It just wasn't hobby stuff. I built. I had Sunday off, and I built a desk.
Yeah.
And like an attachment thing and a file cabinet. We're still moving into the new place, so my wife got a bunch of office furniture. Right. So my Sunday was me building like a bunch of office furniture. Way less fun.
Way less fun. Sure. So it's just one-to-one scale terrain is what it is.
Yeah, I mean she's super excited.
Yeah. Excellent.
But yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. Did you get any games? Were you able to get any games played?
I think I played a little bit of Magic on Thursday while I was at work, and I walked a kid through like a demo game and like showed him like the basics of 40K. So, But no, this week has just been rough, and it's not going to get any easier. The next couple weeks, I'm just up to my eyebrows with like projects and stuff. But some of it is painting, so I will get to do some painting next week.
I was going to say that's kind of rough because your eyebrows are like well over my head.
Yeah, it's a lot. It is not for the faint of heart, the amount of work that I take on. So
awesome. Cool. Well, I last Wednesday night I got to play the first game in a campaign for Dracula's America.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's the skirmish one you were talking about.
Yep. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm playing the Forsaken, and it's the 7th Cavalry.
Okay.
Who in Dracula's America, their big thing is, so you can right from the start you can take horses, so you can have mounted guys in your 7th Cavalry, which is what you want to have, of course. But the crazy thing is, at the beginning of the game, you roll to randomly determine which 2 of your guys turn into werewolves for the game.
Every time?
Every time. So 2 of them are always going to become werewolves.
Okay.
So I had Custer as my general, my hero leading the force. I had 3 veterans and 4 novices. 2 of the veterans were on horseback, and of course it was my general, so my hero Custer, and one of my veterans on horseback turned into werewolves.
Okay.
So, it was pretty. It was a fun game. It was basically like I was meeting another posse, and things went wrong, so we started like opening fire on each other. And then all of a sudden it was like, hang on, I think this might be a mistake. So we stopped shooting at each other, and we looked to the left, and there was a horde of zombies coming onto the board.
You're like, this place is crawling with Draculas.
It was ridiculous. So we stopped fighting each other, and we started fighting the zombies. But in the second to last turn, my force was broken, and I had to... the rest of the guys had to quit the field.
Is it scenario driven, or is it like?
No, it's scenario driven.
Okay,
but this one was a tweaked scenario. Our guy who's running the campaign sort of played as games master for our game, so he ran the zombies in the NPC phase.
Okay,
but yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was I had no idea that was going to be the sort of the shtick going into the evening. So it was one of those nice moments where you don't know what's going on, so you just do what you think's fun at the time.
There's I guess I did do a little like hobby adjacent stuff. Like obviously we checked out all the new Games Workshop leaks or the teases from this weekend. So like the new Guardsman stuff and that new Khorne Berserker riding the Juggernaut, which looks phenomenal.
Yep.
And then we spent a bunch of time like talking about that stuff. So we got a bunch of new people jumped on. So it looks like
what we got. What do we got? So yeah, just running through. Jay says you should model a miniature editor and producer models.
It'd be easy. We can read stuff those up right away.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't have time to do that. Yeah, Scott said he's interested in the show. I'm going to Adepticon and going to enter my first Golden Demon, aiming to make a cut. Nice.
Ryan, the attachment thing. So it's an L desk. So the main part is the desk, and then the attachment part you can add on, and it's an adjustable standing desk for her. Okay. So that's the attachment thing.
Right. My attachment is this part here that in any other, like in a normal person's world, you could slide it in and out. But mine just doesn't move. It hasn't moved for like 10 years.
Nice.
So.
David Hummel has my favorite. Greetings programs. It's my favorite.
Greetings programs, yes.
Rick is correct. It is by Osprey.
Yep.
Chris Gorka's on here.
Hey, Chris.
Josh is JP. Here. Yeah, he's right. Settling in. I don't think it's as bad as the first move, but it's like I feel like I can't rest until everything is where it needs to be.
Right.
Yep. So Chris is just settling into paint. Oh, nice, Rick. Rick, are you working on the big one from the game, or like the big one that was like the demo thing, like the one that was like an exclusive? There's a big Cthulhu that's like the size of a like a 40K Titan. It's probably like, I don't know, 12 or 13 inches.
I was going to say the size of a toddler.
Yeah, that one comes with the game, and then the one that's like a toddler was like an exclusive thing that they only had through like events and if you back the Kickstarter and whatever. But I know that he's friends with Pete Sherry, so yeah, so he's at the toddler size Cthulhu.
Yep. It's fantastic. Cool.
Someone. Rick's playing with the new Express paints. It's basically Vallejo's speed paints.
Yep.
They're pretty cool. Chris is working on his Necrons. Those Necrons are great. They're like the brassy ones with all the pinks and the purple like spot colors.
Yep. They do look cool.
Good news, David did not fall asleep and miss this one live. He's here live. It's real. It's all real. It's really happening.
Nice work, Dave. I had to take a nap yesterday afternoon. I was worried that I might want to try and do it tonight as well, but I didn't. I stayed awake.
That sounds good. That sounds good right now.
Yeah. A nap would be awesome.
All right, so what do we get first? Who sent us stuff?
Well, first up, I got a couple of things I got happening. One of them is I almost finished. I think I might have said this last week. Almost finished the volumes 5 and 6 of the Art of. If I stay up late tonight, I will have finished volume 6. And then volume 5 will happen over the next couple of days as I get more stuff in from Tommy. But we're almost looking like it's done. Like I might be able to get it off to the printers next Tuesday. Is what I'm hoping for. So
no,
yeah,
is volume 5 and 6, are those ones already edited?
No, the stuff that I still got to get from Tommy is editing. He's got one of his friends is editing it. I've got an editor working on it. Okay. And I've got to bring those together, and then so the final sections. Then I need to lay out the last 15, 20 pages. But I have all the text for that. It just needs to be edited, and Tommy's made recommendations on which photos he'd like to see in there, and then it's just a matter of dropping that in.
Well, good.
And then go back and work on it and the tweaking and the slight adjustments here and there. Then the making sure that they're all CMYK 300 DPI, as I mentioned last week.
Oh yeah.
Which is pretty cool. So excited about that. Then also, of course, I'm going to tell you, head to the pre-launch page. Click notify me so you'll be notified when the tremendous Tome of Epic Dungeons comes out. We've been dialing in on the contributors. I think we're up to 12 or 15 contributors now. But yeah, it's going to be pretty super cool. Over the next few days, we'll be.
It's going to be tremendous.
It will be tremendous. Yes, which is a much better word than pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I can't even remember a Scrabble term for it, but anyway.
Triple word score.
Pardon?
Triple word score.
Yeah, tremendous on a triple word score. Nice. That would be great. But yes, so we have that happening soon. And this morning, there's something I just want to sort of ask people about, or just have a quick chat about before we get into the competition painting conversation.
Sure.
Is about messing around with what's the word I'm looking for? Messing around with rules, or taking armies that are described in the lore, you find in Black Library books and that kind of thing, and they might be like essentially Imperial Guard armies or planetary defense forces.
Sure.
But the way that they're described is you couldn't take that unit or that group that is described and fit them into an Imperial Guard list for gaming. So I've popped up a picture of the Cipher Lords.
They're so nice looking.
Yeah, they are. They're beautiful. They're one of the Warcry warbands.
Yep.
But I've just started this morning when I went for my walk. I was listening to Legion by Dan Abnett. So listening to the audiobook. Yep. So
the Geno Chiliad.
Well, the Geno 52 Chiliad is one of the main sort of organizations in there, and the way that they fight is very much Imperial Army, Imperial Guard sort of style.
Yep.
But at the beginning of the book, they're fighting the Nerthine, so who are the indigenous inhabitants of this world that they're trying to squeeze compliance from. And the Nerthine are described as like wearing lots of like flowing silks and silver breastplates and helmets, and they fight with falxes,
yep,
which are essentially like falchions. And these models, the Cipher Lords models, have a lot of falchions in there.
Yep.
And they've got a lot of twin blades and that kind of thing. But what I was thinking is that it would be pretty sweet to use these models to make the Nerthine, but you couldn't use them as Imperial Guard, right? Because there's no great combat unit, close combat unit for Imperial Guard.
Well, as far as we know, with the new book coming out, I mean, they could absolutely bring back combat squads. I'll be honest, I don't understand why they ever got rid of them. Like, you would basically just use them, not that they're better at fighting than other guardsmen, but like you would use them to screen your weapon teams.
Yeah.
So,
but you still do, you can still do that now with just regular squad of guys.
You could, and there's definitely ways to do stuff like this, like so a friend, like flipping it on its head. So the Nerthine, the whole idea is that they're not guardsmen.
Yeah.
So a buddy of mine plays like Thousand Suns.
Right.
So what he does though is he runs a bunch of, I think he runs them as like, I think he uses the stats for Zangors, but he uses a bunch of the Carrick acolytes.
All right.
And he runs them as like Spire Guard.
Okay.
So they're like, house troops for the Legion kind of thing. And they look amazing. They look phenomenal.
Yep.
But he didn't want to have a bunch of Zangors running around. He wanted them to look like they were all kind of like, very early. So they have like human troops and followers and stuff.
Sure.
They look super cool. I've seen a bunch of people do that. Like they'll, when they run like just straight up chaos legions, they'll run because you can do cultists.
Right.
And same thing. Like you would get these guys and just they would count as cultists and you could convert them all. But I mean, we used to do the same thing back when we used to play guard. I remember a guy at the bunker built we were talking about last week, the Necromunda 8th.
Yep.
And he literally bought a bunch of Necromunda killed like gangs. So he had Eschers and Juves and stuff mixed in with his guard. Yep. And they looked phenomenal. Like the whole army is basically all metal, like Necromunda figures for the most part.
Yep.
So.
But I'm thinking of picking up some of these and running them as Drukhari.
Yeah, I could see that.
Have the ones with the falchions being
Incubi.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the rest being witches.
Yeah.
Which I think would be pretty neat. Could be a lot of fun.
I would probably kit bash a box of witches in there because they've got some pretty cool pieces and
specific weaponry and stuff like that. Yeah. And also the guns, all the gun bits.
Yeah, you can swap out some hands and stuff.
Yeah. But I think these would look really sweet in like with instead of that turquoise kind of stuff they got going on, switch that for like a magenta to a pink, having some great fades and that sort of thing, and putting some reflections in the silver breastplates, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I think that would look super cool.
I mean, I think it's a cool idea. They're a super cool squad. To be fair, most of the Warcry warbands are very unique looking. They're really, really neat.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, they are definitely.
I love their heads. I saw a guy do a conversion where he built a bunch of. I think he just runs them as Thousand Suns. He has a bunch of Marines and he swapped out some of their heads.
Right.
Because they look super cool.
They would look good. Definitely.
So Scott wanted to know, do squads have to be game legal? So in terms of like the entry, no, you can enter whatever you want.
Yep.
Like they don't have to be game legal.
What they've done now actually is they've reduced. So squad is 3 or more models.
Yep.
And it does not have to be game legal. So yeah. Any sort of, you could have any combination of 3 models you can have a Commissar, an Ogren, and maybe not any model, but infantry models, and sort of thing. Yeah, so if you want to have the Commissar in there, for sure. That one was sort of similar to my proxy Thunderwall cavalry units using the Palador Cav.
Oh, nice. So they're like the Hippogriff, like the Hippogriff riders. Those are sweet.
Yep.
Yeah. Those models are fantastic.
I think it'd definitely be that kind of thing, but using them as the Dark Elder. I think.
No, I dig it.
Just got to think about it a bit more.
I'm excited to see it now.
Just came to me this morning. And I was like, hey. The crazy thing is, so this box set, I can't find it anywhere on the GW website.
I don't think it exists anymore. I think you have to buy 2 of the smaller ones.
But the smaller one, there are no Cipher Lords box sets on the GW website.
What?
It's not in Warcry. It's not in.
Hang on.
If you can find it for me, that'd be great. Just send me a link to the.
Give me a second. It's gonna get bright.
Yep, crazy bright. You are flaring.
Cipher Lords. Also, we might have some at the shop too, but I'm pretty sure they still exist.
Yeah.
Let's see. Cipher. They might just be under Warcry.
But you can the crazy thing is you can buy the double box of Iron Golems, Splintered Fang, all those dudes.
Yeah, you're right there. Not even up here.
Wow.
I will check our website right now. I think I have some. But...
Look at this, folks. The internet in action. Definitely cool. But yes. While you're checking that out, I'm going to transition to the next image, which is one of the ones we had sent in. This is from Chris Gorka.
He's pretty good, that guy.
Yeah, he's not bad. Does some nice stuff. But yes, some buttery smooth yellow fades on this cool one.
That's a mini he got for free too. That's the free Primaris Intercessor.
Hang on a sec. Oh my god, it is too. Check that out. That's my free
pre-molded base, pre-molded base and everything.
Yep. Oh yeah, I didn't notice that. That's cool. It's because I haven't painted the base on mine. But no, excellent. No, I think it's beautiful work, Chris. And one of the things I really love is that because the Primaris helmet ridge is wider than the the Firstborn helmet ridge, he's kept that width all the way down to the eyes there. So
you got to do it that way. All my flesh eaters have the same thing.
Right.
You just do it the same width. It's perfect. It's like exactly the right size.
Yeah. It says, "I'm okay, I guess." Yes, you are. But it looks very nice, Chris. Did you? I can't remember if you said you entered this in a local competition or you're going to enter this in a local competition. Let me know.
Chris, did you airbrush your layers and then go back and do line highlighting?
Ooh, good question. I don't know.
Like some of the subtle blends look like airbrush, but
he did. He just said he did.
Yeah, right on.
It's a nice one. That's great. Excellent. Next up, yep, I did see Jeff earlier. We have Ben Grimm. I think that's his name. The Thing.
Yeah.
That Jeff painted up and entered in an IPMS competition, so International Plastic Modelers Society competition that he won a prize for.
What is that mini from? That I don't know what that miniature is from. It's definitely not. So that he doesn't exist in Crisis Protocol yet.
Sorry, I misinterpreted Chris's I did. He said the I did was about the competition. So yes, he did enter that in a competition. So, right, cool. Knight Models, there we go. So the old Knight Models Marvel game.
Okay. Yeah, I don't even think they make that anymore, do they?
No. Nope, they do not.
I mean, we'll probably get him for Crisis Protocol at some point, but
yeah. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. But no, looking very cool there, Jeff. Or maybe not cool, but sort of hot and angry.
Yeah. He's pretty chunky.
Yep. Excellent. Oh, sorry. Just jumping back to Chris's model for a second. He said the model was sketched out in pink and white. So his pre-shade was a pink. So I think primed it pink and then highlighted in white and then layered the yellow on top.
Huh.
So very cool.
Nice. Yeah, it's very soft tones. It looks great. So.
Yep. Yes, license issues discontinued the Marvel game. Yep.
Word.
And, Knight Models had some problems understanding what they needed to do.
Yeah, Knight Models is one of those companies I'm always like, well, how do you guys have these licenses?
You got somebody who's a great talker. But yeah, no, excellent work there, Jeff. And next up, Jeff had another model that he's been thinking about entering in a competition. His, you're gonna love this one, Jake. Has it come up yet?
Nice.
Oh, it's coming.
The man himself.
Yep. So lovely, sweet Mephiston.
Yeah, he good.
Yep. I'm loving your highlights on the on his cloak.
Yeah,
black cloak and also the red robes, I guess, that he's wearing there.
Yeah, it's always hard. Like, it's always hard, like really building up layers and trying to stay true to the color. Like,
Yep.
One of my least favorite things is when people highlight a color with another color.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Like, you're like, oh, this is supposed to be, orange, so I highlighted it with yellow, and I'm like, yeah, but it wouldn't look yellow. It's not fire. It would look orange.
Right.
So, like, whenever I do Blood Angels, I always try to stay really on tone, and I'll just keep adding yellow to the red to make the red lighter, but I only highlight red with red. I don't like changing tones, but
Okay.
But I really like the way this looks. Like, that's how you do it. Like, that's probably 4 or 5 different shades of red that keep that looking nice and rich and deep, and it still looks red. It doesn't look like it's been, edged out with like lighter colors. That looks awesome.
Yeah, I agree. It does look awesome. But I will send you a picture after the show that Saney did of a White Scars Praetor with blues and greens and reds in the shadows.
Okay,
You'll love it.
he looks great. I also love Mephiston's Dracula armor.
Yeah,
Like the exposed muscle armor. Like he's just such a monster.
Yeah.
He's like one of the best characters in the 40K lore.
Yep.
You're like, oh, he's a psychic space vampire with the powers of a demigod. You're like, it's fine. He's a good guy.
It's all good. But yeah, so beautiful stuff. And yes, Jeff, you should definitely enter this in a painting competition. Yep, lovely work. And next up,
And he does proud. He drilled out the barrel on the plasma gun. You always got to drill out your barrels.
He did. Little trick. Did somebody might have told us about this last week or another time? I can't remember where I saw it, but to make sure that the drill goes in the center of the barrel, just scribe a little cross with your hobby knife.
Oh, nice. I usually use a needle.
Okay.
And I'll just poke a hole right in the middle, and then I put the drill bit in it.
Yep.
But yeah, the plus is probably easier to do.
Yeah, it's easier to line up, so you just have to split half and then split the other half, rather than trying to do both at the same time with a needle. Yeah. But if you practice well enough. I gotta say that even after like 30 years of drilling out barrels, I still screw it up sometimes.
I'll have like the one that's like off to the side, it's too thin on one side.
Yeah. Yep. And then I come back with my knife and sort of carve out the rest of it. What I tend to do sometimes as well is just paint a little black circle on the end.
See, I can't do that because then it looks like there's like a disc on the end of the barrel, and I'm like, no, it's supposed to be a hole.
Well, I don't do it really thick.
I can tell.
But you can paint a little highlight underneath that circle. That really helps. But anyway, the next model is wasn't really submitted for the painting competition aspect for us to discuss, but it's from Scott Radham, and it's one of his Cruel Boys. He's painted up with his non-metallic metal. You remember seeing that in the group?
Yeah, he looks good. Scott with his again, Scott does a lot of colors that I really dig. He does lots of like deep greens and blues and like coppery tones. Like I like the cooler shade, especially because I paint so much red. I really like the cooler tones.
Yeah.
Non-metallic metal is like one of those things that I'm always like, I just can't get into. Like this looks great, and metallic I think looks great in photography.
Right.
The problem is that because it's designed with artificial source lighting, as soon as you move it, it ruins the image. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, that's not right. Like it should change and shift because the light's changing, and then it doesn't.
It can. It doesn't always.
Yeah.
If it's done well, it's done well.
Yeah,
that's like the next level. You can do it so that it looks really good from one angle.
Yeah.
The next level is making it look good from multiple angles. So
I like the idea of metallic.
Yep.
My big thing is always like the whole reason that used to exist is because there weren't metallic paints because it was too hard to make them.
Yeah.
So you had to artificially generate a metallic look with highlights.
Sure.
Now I'm like, there are so many great metallics. I was like, why would you why would you do that? Like,
yeah. Well, it's forcing a look, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
You can still do that with metallics, though. Yeah, absolutely correct.
Yeah.
But
I'll highlight my metallics and stuff. Like I do lots of washes and I'll add like edges and like scrapes and stuff. But again, it's all shimmery metallics, which I dig. Again, it's just a technique. I think it's really cool. I appreciate the artistic kind of like license with it. It's just one of those things that I'm always like, oh god, like I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I did see a really cool one that I liked. Somebody did. It was a BattleTech miniature. And they did an awesome, which is one of my favorite mechs. It literally looks like a brick wall with guns on it. It's like a big flat. It looks like Optimus Prime. It's like Optimus Prime meets the Great Wall of China. It's a big blocky mech.
You're gonna need to be more specific.
So somebody had painted it, because someone did one. There was a piece of artwork that somebody did where like the idea was it had like mirror finish like chrome armor.
Yep.
That would help you refract like laser fire. So somebody painted it, but did non-metallic to make it look chrome.
Right.
So it was all super silvery shiny, and then it had like that horizon line across the chest.
Right.
And then they had like the tans and browns like the ground. Like that looked phenomenal. And they did it so all the way around the mini.
Yep.
So I really liked that. That was cool. But I was also like, that seems like a ton of work. I'm not doing that.
Oh yeah, it is. It's definitely a ton of work, without a doubt. But all it comes down to is like, why are you doing it? What are you doing it for? What are you trying to achieve? And
Jeff says when I do non-metallic, it doesn't look good from any angle.
That's me. That's me too. I'm not good at it, so I don't bother with it. I will admit I did it on a unit of Knights Panther, like a long time ago. Did it for the gold, and I was like, actually, I'm pretty happy with this. It looks all right. It didn't look very good at all, but I was pretty happy with it at the time. But then I was like, so what about the silver? Do I have to do non-metallic for the silver now? I guess I do. I don't want to do that.
You can't mix them.
No, so but I did. I mixed them. I just did the metallics for the silver, and that was the only non-metallics I did for the army. So, but yeah, it's a tough one. But I think when Scott posted this, I was like, when he said it's non-metallic, and I was like, no, it's not. No, that shield is no way. That looks great.
The first thing I thought was I was like, oh, I really want to get that bronze. That looks awesome.
Yep. Absolutely cool.
Yeah, Jim's talking about in the mid 2000s, Games Workshop did nothing but non-metallic, metallic, and objective source lighting. You're 100% right.
Okay.
That was when the heavy metal team was kind of like at the peak of their powers,
Well,
and
no,
you were like, and every month you were like, oh, I can't paint that.
Games Workshop did in Golden Demons is what he's saying. When you
Sorry,
Golden
Golden
Demons, yeah.
But there definitely was a fair share of that in heavy metal. I remember one of the guys did Dante in non-metallic, metallic.
Oh yeah, Dante, the Sanguinor, like Darren Latham's the Sanguinor is absolutely
such a great model,
spectacular.
Yeah,
but
he's pretty good too.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. But yeah, insane. But I sort of jumped in to show these submissions that we had from the group, as well as pulling this one from Scott's post, to start to talk about some of the initial things that we'll talk about, that I wanted to talk about with competition painting. So
sure.
Just for a little bit, I'm going to switch back to the big us. And there are two kind of main aspects that I wanted to talk about, or for particularly Jake and I to chat about, and for you guys to throw some thoughts in the chat. But the first thing is reasons for entering a painting competition, any painting competition. Why would you enter?
To win, bragging rights.
To win, get sweet trophies, bragging rights.
Sure. I think for me a big one would be
standing there like this. Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't want a photo with the Slayer sword? I think.
Yep.
I think a big one would be recognition amongst your peers. I think is a good one.
Okay. Yep.
I think that's a big one. I think that's why a lot of the guys, like a lot of the same guys, kind of re-enter every year.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like over the years, like Darren Latham and David Soper, like they enter all the time. Like every single Golden Demon they enter. And I think it's just because they like being part of the community and that whole like group, and you know what I mean. Like I think they like that being amongst that sort of like elite group of folks.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be my guess.
There's a point like that now where like David Soper's won 5 Slayer swords.
He's running out of space in his house.
He doesn't. Yeah, he's running out of space in his house. I think he lives in London, so it's a very small house. But he doesn't have to enter anymore. But he enjoys it so much. Enjoys preparing for it and working on his piece and that kind of thing. But yeah, so I think you hit on a number of different things there that I completely agree with. Like one of them is to win, to get the accolades, to get recognition, be it from your peers or from people you don't know online, all that kind of thing. There's the finding out if your painting level is where you think it is, or if your painting level is improving or progressing by entering the same competition year after year after year.
Yep.
One of them you sort of hit on right at the end is that I think is quite important as well, is that is the participation, really. Participating as part of a community, a painting community, a gaming community, whatever it happens to be. But there's an event going on, there's a community event happening, and participating in that community event helps you be part of that community. So there's that aspect, and there's also the having something in the case and using that to connect with people, to be able to talk to somebody else that you don't know. You're at Adepticon next year, 2023 in March, and you're standing at looking into the miniatures in the case at like 1 a.m, and nobody else to talk over this particular mini with, but you see somebody down the end who's also looking at the models. Hey, how you doing? You entered? Well, is this your piece? Fantastic. Tell me more about it.
Yeah.
There's that opportunity, or let me tell you more about my piece. if somebody asks, of course, never force it on them. But but it's that community aspect that you talked about. It's the reason those guys do enter and do work on pieces during the year. It's a shared ground, shared language, shared thing that you can do as part of a community. And that doesn't just have to be Golden Demon and talking about some of the most amazing painters in the world. That's hanging out at your local store and supporting your local store by making sure there are entries in their monthly painting competition, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think the hardest thing for me is always to separate and I guess I don't need to, but like the hardest thing for me, I think, is separating the stuff that I like from the skill set necessarily.
Right. Yeah.
Like a big thing for me, particularly when I go to like, Adepticon and you get to see, even when it was Crystal Brush,
Yep.
It's even more apparent with it being Golden Demon.
Yep.
But the big thing for me is always like, I like looking at stuff that I'm like, that's super cool. I don't know how anybody did that. Like or like, wow, what a great idea. I can't believe someone took the time to do this. Like that for me is far more important than somebody who's like, oh, what I did was I bought this figure and I built it and then I painted it exactly like it looks on the packaging.
Right.
And I'm like, that's great, but like that's been done. Like it.
Yep.
Like the Heavy Metal team did that for the box art, and the fact that you could copy that or mimic it is it's great. Like that's awesome. But also like it's been done. Like if you fly across the Atlantic, like somebody beat you to it. Like that's already been done. Their name is in the record book. You know what I mean? Like it's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I like seeing stuff that I'm like, I have never seen anything like that. That's a whole new thing. Like I love doing that.
Yeah.
Like that for me is the big part.
Yeah. Yep. But that's for you looking at it as a viewer or as a judge. That's the framework that you have. Pardon?
As a judge, like I've had to judge stuff before, and it's a lot easier when there's like a rubric, like when me and the other judges get together and they're like, this is what we're looking for. I'm able to go, okay, cool, I got it, and I'm able to separate that out. But if I was going to Games Day or if I was going to Adepticon and I was a judge, most of the stuff that won the categories this year would not have won. Like if I was the deciding factor, they wouldn't have won, just because I'm like, yeah, those are great, but there were other models that I thought were much more jaw-dropping in terms of like what they brought to the table.
Right.
Like we were talking the other day, the sanguinary, where it's Sanguinius fighting the demon.
Yep.
Like we both thought that one in the dioramas, that one should have won the gold, and it got silver or bronze.
Silver.
And and I just think like the dynamism of the models, like the fact that he basically converted the entire demon. It has like multiple layers. Like the amount of work and effort and love that somebody poured into that is obvious. Like yeah. I just think it looks. I mean, all the duels are really cool. They're all done really well. But whenever I see something like that, whenever there's a diorama where I'm just like, ooh, man, like the giant we saw last week fighting the Hydra in the water. Like, that thing 100% deserves to win the Slayer Sword. That is incredible.
Yep.
Like I could spend hours just looking at that model. And that's, for me, that's the thing. Like if I could just fall into a model and be like, man, I don't even know how somebody did this. Like,
yep.
And then trying to figure, I know how he did that. Or, I can see what that is. Like that for me, it's the whole package, right? It's all the Easter eggs that are in there. And, yep. It's the stuff that I know how to do and the stuff that I don't know how to do. And like that for me is like, that's part of it.
Cool. Excellent. Just quickly, I'm going to jump back into the chat. Jeff says, now with Turbo Dork, I don't bother with an M. Just going with Turbo Dork Metallics. They're good. Scott says, I've been pretty well, only non-metallic metal for maybe 3 years now and still not there yet. Yeah, it's a lot of, definitely a lot of work in there. For sure. Dave says, I got nothing. Not that mine are poorly painted, but my skill set is not there. And after managing a paint studio, Warboss Minis, I know that I will not have the skill set for a while, if ever, and I'm okay with that. I paint for me, and that's all I need. That's the most important thing.
That's all you should be painting for, is yourself.
Just paint for yourself, for sure. Chris says, I typically don't enter competitions. I did enter this local one because a couple of my buddies were there, and I thought it'd be fun to enter with them. Exactly. It's always fun to participate in that with your friends. things like the Golden Demon, when I entered there, a whole bunch of my friends entered as well. And at the award ceremony, we were all standing together at the back of the room, or actually in the side room that they had to open up because there were so many people at the ceremony. And it was just like, okay, yeah, wait to hear any of their names. If somebody was called, it's like, yeah, fantastic. Well, sort of really support your friends and get out there. But that's a great, fantastic reason to enter.
Yeah. It's also nice of you, Chris. It's also nice of Chris not to just like skunk all the locals and just like crush everybody in his local painting contest.
Scott says, I want to see where I sit with the top folks. Looking forward to some feedback from the top. Want to get drunk with some like-minded peeps. For sure. You'll definitely be able to do that at Adepticon. Eric Swinson has joined us. Eric, we have one of Eric's models in the show later on.
So we haven't shown that, right? No.
Yeah, he won gold from at Adepticon in the open category for Golden Demon there. But nice. Eric also was the lead judge for the Masters category at Capital Palette in September, beginning of September. Eric's painting is amazing. He did wonderful work with colors, with shadows, with textures, with light, all sorts of things. Nice. And he has been super busy doing loads of fantastic box arts for a lot of European companies. He's done a bunch for Privateer Press as well. But yeah, fantastic stuff. Hello, Eric. Josh says ReaperCon does it slightly different. They're looking for maturity of skills, and does the paintwork enhance the figure? It's more of a competition against yourself. Yep. Hey, Betsy's here. Excellent, Betsy Bowers. Hey there, better late than never. Tim says hi, fantastic. Hi, Tim. Yep, Josh recognizes that. Eric says, it's kind of antithetical to say you like a rubric, but then say you would judge Golden Demon based on impact and feeling. Personally, I hate rubrics as a judge. I don't like applying numerical values to art.
So what I mean is like, there's a way that I like to judge, which is just the stuff that I think speaks to me.
Right.
But I've judged in competitions where there is a rubric, and they'll be like, we are looking for this. And then when they do that, I'm like, okay. And I follow the rubric because that's what I'm being asked to do. But I'm saying my preference is I would much prefer to just be like, that one. Like, that one speaks to me. I like that.
Right.
And I'm more than happy to, explain what, like if someone's like, oh, why did that win? Oh, well, this is what I liked about it. This is what I think was really cool. But again, I understand why they do that. Like, it sounds like ReaperCon does a very different thing. Like, we did a painting contest, or I entered a painting contest out in like Western Mass a couple years ago, and it was very specific, like the stuff that we had to do. Like, so they had like 3 different categories, and once you pick the category, the model had to be a very specific thing. And I think it was for like a launch of a game or something. So like we all had to paint like a Chaos War Leader, like, and it had to be like a model that was on a 40 mil base or smaller, and you couldn't paint the base because they didn't want basing stuff to distract from the paint job of the mini. So like it was different because I was like, oh, this is really weird. Like, we all have to follow these very specific kind of things. It was cool. Like, it was really fun seeing all the minis, and like, but it was just weird. They were all on just a black circle.
Right.
So like there was no bases, and I was like, this is just. It felt weird having to be like, oh, I don't have to do, so don't paint the base. Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, every contest is different. Every tournament or whatever, like they're all gonna have their own kind of thing. So
I think one thing to mention here, and it's perfect timing there, is so preparing for the show, I watched a video from Roman Lappat. From the Massive Voodoo blog, and countless awesome miniature painting displays, and it was about judging painting competitions. It was amazing that it popped up like in my feed a couple of days after we talked about doing this. But I think one of the key things that Roman talked about, which I'm completely going to steal his shtick here, is the frame. And I'm not talking about frames put around models or dioramas or anything like that, but how the competition is framed to the judges.
Sure.
So, pardon me, the way that the head judge or a leading judge or the person who's organizing competition will talk to the judging team. Sometimes that judging team might be one person if it's a local painting competition. It might be the store owner or the store manager or somebody that they assign to judge the painting competition. They might not have a very clear framework in what to work within, but generally for the larger competitions, there'll be a head judge who will present the framework or discuss the framework with the judging teams, so that they know what to be looking for. What's the focus? Is the focus going to be innovation, excitement, interesting sort of things? Does that put above technique, or is technique the key thing that the head judge wants the team to look at? And I think as we go through and we have a look at some of the minis that I've got that I pulled from Golden Demon UK and Golden Demon US, we'll see that there is a difference. There's a bit of a difference in there as to what those two teams were looking for within the Golden Demon competition. And they would also be different again to what Eric and Caleb were looking for in the Masters category, for example.
Do you think it helps? So we had this come up a couple of years ago. I think it was before we opened the store. Adam and I were doing a local painting contest, and we were helping them like organize it. And a bunch of guys, there were a couple of guys that are good painters in our area, and they had entered a bunch of times. And one of the judges was like, "This will be judged blind." And so Adam was like, "Oh," so then like everybody had a piece of paper that had like all their info on it, and it was a card, and all the cards were face down under the model, so you didn't know who painted it.
Right.
So the idea was that they left them out for everybody to look at it, but then when the judges walked around, the judges didn't know who did what.
Right.
And do you think that matters, or does that help?
I think my preference would always be that it was blind, in that you don't necessarily know whose piece it's going to be, but there can be a lot of there are going to be a lot of situations where your judges will know whose piece it is, and you need to. At that point, you just rely on the integrity of your judges.
Sure.
And if you think it's going to be a problem, that means you don't trust the integrity of your judges more than anything else, I think. So, yeah, you just got to be confident that your judges are going to work within your framework and judge as impartially as they can.
So I guess with judges it's different. Like if you're doing a contest like that, like we did a big one where we had the community pick.
Right. Okay.
And people were worried that Daryl has a bunch of friends, and like Daryl's a great painter, so his friends are going to all vote for him. So we did a blind one, and it was kind of crazy because like a kid that basically nobody knew.
Yep.
Won, because the idea was we're like, hey, go around the room. There were probably like 50 armies, and it was like, okay, we want you to rank your top 5. Like every army has a number, and you're just going to write your top 5 in order.
Sure.
And then we had them hand them in, and we left everything up for, I think we left everything up for like the weekend. You had to drop off by Friday at 6:00, and then you could pick them up on Sunday at like 2 or 3. Yep. So everybody that came in, we gave them a card. We had them walk around and judge everything, but like nobody knew who anybody's was. It was just like their armies were out.
Right.
And then that was kind of cool. But I'm just thinking out loud. It was kind of neat, but that was because it was such a big group of people. Like it was like what do the masses think? It wasn't like we have 3 judges that are gonna pick.
Sure.
These, so.
Yeah. Well, I think for like people's choice is really what you're talking about there. That people will stick to their biases. They might know what their friend's entry is, and they'll make sure that that's up there as well. But so it's quite often going to be sort of impossible to take that out of it completely.
It's still just biased. You're like, well, I like Skaven, so the Skaven army's winning.
There are always going to be people like that as well, who's like,
Sure.
I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a lot of really. They're all really cool to me, so I'm just going to pick the Skaven.
That one wins.
But yeah, so it's kind of a crazy thing there. But Herrick says, I think blind judging is pretty impossible at larger competitions. Everyone kind of knows each other. And I think, yeah, if you're really a level, particularly some of the larger competitions, if you're at a level where you're judging the competition, you've got there through hard work and brilliant painting, and you haven't got there like alone. You've worked with a lot of these people, you've painted with a lot of them, you've talked about painting with a lot of them, you've probably spent a bunch of time in a bar drinking a lot of beer with them. And it's just that ability to separate yourself from the people and the personality and the friendship and just go straight into judging the piece that they've presented. So it's there's a lot of different sort of aspects to it, I think, but something that I think can be important if you're going into a competition to try and win the competition, or at least understand how the winners are chosen. It's understanding what the framework of the judging is going to be. And usually you'll find that most competitions, if you have a regular local competition or regional competition that's judged by the same people time and time again, you'll be able to develop an understanding of what that framework is and what to expect. So if you do want to go there in there and try and win something, you know what you need to paint towards.
Right.
But yeah, I think with something like Scott says, I'm planning on sleeping my way to the top.
Scott's got it down. Scott gets it.
Good luck. But yeah. Destroy me there completely, Scott. I should never read the comments. But
Scott's like, oh, they got a nice little diatribe going on. Let me monkey wrench that whole thing.
Yeah. What was I talking about? Anyway.
You were talking about Scott sleeping his way to the top.
Yeah, sure. Exactly. Now I've completely forgotten it. Nice work, Scott. But no, I think my personal opinion on it is that the most important reason for entering is to be participating as part of a community and hanging out with friends and talking about cool toy soldiers.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the whole reason why all of us want to go to Adepticon is because we want to hang out with people that like the stuff that we like and talk about the stuff that we like.
Yeah.
I mean, you're always going to have the random couple of like salt goblins that just go there to like be salty and try to like rain on somebody's parade and like be like, yeah, my life is terrible, but I totally own this guy in Age of Sigmar. Like, and you're like, okay, cool. Like,
Yeah.
But fortunately, that's a very, 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 very small percentage of the people that are there. So
yeah, no, for sure. But one of the things I was going to say, one thing I should have mentioned earlier that folks watching might not know, but there are a number of different formats for painting competitions. The two main formats, and I will admit these are the only two that I really know. So I'm assuming that there are more that I don't know about. But these are the two most common. So Golden Demon is run on the podium format, where there is a first, second, third. If there are 50 entries in that category, there's still only a first, second, third. If there are 2 entries in that category, there's a first and a second. So there's not a percentage of awards given out across the category or whatever. It's just there's a first, second, third. Hence the podium sort of Olympic Games.
But they also give out like a double handful of the commendation pins.
Oh yeah, you might get extra. There might be finalist pins or commendation, commended entries, that kind of thing. Yeah, Stefan also says salt goblins added to lexicon. Excellent. But the other format is the open format, which is a mix of things. It's less about competing directly with other people who have entered that category in that competition at the time.
Sure.
And it's about your skill level within the context of the competition, or your presentation, your model that you've presented, and showing your skill in that. So, Capital Palette, for example, is an open competition where you could have 50 entries in that category, but there might be 5 golds, and 2 of them are at a silver level and 3 at a bronze level.
Okay, so it's more like a ribbon, like you've achieved like X number of ribbons or whatever, or medals, as opposed to, yeah, like it's a medal placement instead of a the tiers or whatever.
Well, it's more somebody else getting a gold doesn't preclude you from getting a gold.
It's the have you achieved this level?
Yeah. Yep.
Not are you the one on the platform?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So
I like that.
There are times as well where in that sort of format where there might be nobody who was awarded gold in the category. But it makes for a very interesting judging approach, for sure. And it was I can't remember when it was. Probably 2017, I would guess. Was my first time judging an open format painting competition, which was the Capital Palette. Judged that with Roman Lappat. And it was fantastic to learn from him on how an open format competition could be judged. So he's done that. And I think back in the day when we had probably maybe 250 entries, I think Roman and I, and the following year we got Jim Wapple to help us. So it was the 3 of us, and I think it took us, we were up until 4 a.m. judging those entries.
I mean, you might disagree. I think the hardest thing for me is always going to stuff like before it was Golden Demon, I definitely used to have Crystal Brush. And the one thing I would say that I appreciate about Crystal Brush is that they're like, hey, did you paint a miniature? Cool, let's see it.
Right.
So it could be a bust you bought online. It could be a Reaper miniature. It could be some, 50-year-old Ralpartha metal mini. Like, it could be anything. It could be Space Marines.
Why you got to call Josh out like that? No, keep going.
Yeah. So for me, it's really hard to go, oh man, like so this guy has, a serried rank army in epic scale that's painted up versus, this like Space Marine captain versus this like World War II battleship that's been painted at like 1/44th scale versus, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh man, it's so hard to like I understand you're still just looking at techniques, but it's different techniques, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like if you're painting a boat, it's like, okay, you got to do metallics and some light effects. You got to understand how the water is going to look. But then if you're painting like, 6 mil infantry, like, it's just like, I think that makes it harder because then you're like, how do we divvy these up?
Yeah. Eric said, I much prefer open. Could you imagine World Model Expo with 1,500 Masters Fantasy entries and only 3 placed? It would be almost entirely down to judge preference at that point. It would be crazy. But I think something that Eric can talk to as well, speak to, is that at something like World Model Expo or Scale Model Challenge, which is also so the most recent World Model Expo in July this year was run by the people who run the Scale Model Challenge in the Netherlands. And I think it was the Netherlands, or was it Belgium? Anyway, but talking with Eric, so Eric went to that, and talking with him at Nova, they have, because a lot of it is coming from historical modeling, they have like 12, 14, 16 different historical categories that break it down into their boats and their tanks, and there are wheeled.
Yeah, I think that helps.
Tracked vehicles. There are wheeled vehicles. There's a whole range of different things, and then there's Fantasy Open, which is where all the fantasy 40 and sci-fi stuff goes. And that's kind of a concession to the other folks there. So, but over time, I think that'll change, that'll grow. But I think one of the things that I meant to say earlier, but I completely forgot, when we were talking about reasons to enter, and one of the reasons to enter is if you've done something that is different, that is new, that nobody's seen before, regardless of how well you've done it, putting it out there and showing people, it's going to inspire somebody to have a go at that, or to try something, like to riff off that as well.
Yeah.
Keep that sort of thing circling around, so that people can keep being inspired by cool toy soldiers. But Scott says, you want to know what a cool guy Roman is? He helped me a crazy amount back on the C1 forums in the day. I commented on a mini of his, and he shipped it to me for free with an awesome note. Awesome note of encouragement and thanks for helping him help me. What a star. Yep, Roman is awesome. Absolutely fantastic. Nice. But yeah, I in that video that I mentioned, I've linked it down in the show notes below, so you can check that out. While you're there, don't forget to hit subscribe, hit like, leave us a comment, not just in the chat, but in the comments below. All those things help to grow the channel. That we're doing cool, fun things.
What else we got? We got any other cool minis to look at?
We have plenty of cool minis to look at. I grabbed a whole bunch from Golden Demon US, so we'll just have a quick blur through all of these.
There's just something about painting on a figure that's as old as me.
There absolutely is. That's fantastic. Sometimes I really don't. I kind of cringe a little bit when I'm watching some YouTube channels where people talk about models that were released sort of after I started working for Games Workshop, and like, oh yeah, that's like 3 decades old, and it's like older than them, and yet there they are playing with it on screen. It's like, oh, that's terrible. Giving those 50-year-old minis. But anyway, yep.
I feel your pain, Dave. I aged myself the other day. I was talking to some kids. These 3 kids came in and they wanted to get into. So 2 of them have started playing 40K and they're trying to get their friend in.
Right.
And I was like, all right, and like they've just started. And I was like, okay. So the kid was like, do you have any like salamanders models?
No.
And I was like, well, the only stuff that's specifically salamanders is I was like, there's the Primaris guy, Agrex Agatone, and then there's the upgrade sprues, and then there's Vulcan Hasten, the Forge Father. I was like, but that's really it. And they were like, oh. And he's like, I thought there was more. I was like, well, there's Chaplain Xavier. And then I was like, oh, wait, they don't make him anymore. And he was like, who's Chaplain Xavier? I was like, he's this really cool Chaplain model that has like a dragon maw in place of the breather. And he has a hammer that looks like Thor's Mjolnir. I was like, he has an Elevator's cape. And he's like, that sounds awesome. I was like, it is, but they don't make him anymore.
So Jeff just said, speaking of old things, Jeff said, there's a Man of War game at my house this weekend. Nice.
Jeff, are you playing the Dwarven Navy with their submersibles and their giant like metal like side wheelers and stuff?
Yep.
Great.
So just quickly as well, I grabbed a whole bunch of minis that I haven't shown off, but I got them here. When David said more than anything in these competitions, the superior painters is inspiration to get a little bit better at my painting. I had exactly the same sort of thing when I started messing around with Dark Age, Simon's old like sci-fi game, and when I saw a lot of the work by Sergio Calvo Rubio from Big Child Creatives, I got really excited and started to mimic some of those on some of my paint jobs.
That model is great.
Yeah. That took silver in 2018 at Captain Con.
Nice.
Yay.
Well
I think it was
done.
2018. But anyway.
So James runs Plague Fleet only, and Jeff is running Chaos Dwarves.
Nice.
So still dwarves.
Yep. Excellent. Okay, so yeah, let's have a quick run through some awesome.
Yeah, what do we got?
Who's excited to see some cool toy soldiers?
I mean, who isn't?
Yeah. Excellent. So these are from
if they're not, you are on the wrong page, my friends. If you...
Exactly. So these are from the Golden Demon US in Adepticon back in March.
Yep.
So I just picked a handful along the way. They're not always the gold winner, but so this awesome piece.
Yeah, he's great. He's super clean. His whites are super clean, and his metallic sword. Everybody loves a good, angled shading to do a sword. And
yeah,
I think the big thing for me is like it's the base, like the rocks, like the cool tones on the rocks and all the little details. Like the skull looks a little bit weathered.
Yeah.
It's done really well.
Yeah, it's all. I know everything below his feet is very sort of desaturated, which helps that focused red and his sort of flesh color pop at the top.
Yeah.
It is.
It's also very cool against like the reds and the like the inside of the cape. He has lots of warm tones on the model. Like even the white on his model is very like kind of neutral warm.
Right. Yep. Exactly. Pick some of these in a strange order, but anyway. So next up, this is from the squad. So Scott, you were asking about squad before. So this is squad entry. Matthew Avis is he's on Instagram as the Golden Demon. Golden Demon Compendium. Matt put together the basically the Compendium Volume 1, which is a whole bunch of awesome pictures of Golden Demon winners over the years. Matt is also the tech guy for the Cult of Paint. So if you want to go and check out their YouTube channel, Matt's always the guy down in the bottom left corner of their streams that does all of their cycling through. He does the stuff that I do in Ice Cream.
I love this diorama. Yeah. Seeing this in person was crazy. It's especially as a Blood Angels player too. Sure. He did a great job. He did such a great variety.
Yeah.
So the bottom right hand guy is an Assault Marine, which is why he got a chance to use the yellow helmet and use that as a really bright like spot color. It pulls your eyes down.
Yep.
The top right guy is a tactical Marine with the red helmet. The two on the left with the gold helmets are Honor Guard.
Yep.
Or First Company, and then the guy in the front on the bottom is a Death Company Marine with the black armor, and then the guy behind is obviously the Chaplain or the HQ choice, and he trimmed him with gold. Like he did a really good job of giving you a variety of like the only thing missing here is like a Devastator Marine with a blue helmet. Like he basically got everything you could have in a Blood Angels list. So
yeah, yep, did a great job there. Of so very obviously not a game legal squad. But,
absolutely not.
But yeah, very nicely done. So I enjoyed that one. Next up is in squad. Not squad. Sorry, vehicle. I picked this because my favorite. I'll show this later in the show as well when we go back to the big screen. But this is a Lamenter's Dreadnought.
Yep.
Then I got silver for at Golden Demon 2013 in Memphis. But this one isn't Lamenter's. I think it's Imperial Fists. But one of my favorite things about it is on the barrels. So it's not 6 separate barrels. He sort of made it as a complete piece.
Right.
And then painted those lines around it to have that motion blur.
Yeah.
For that assault cannon going off.
That's super cool.
But yeah, very very beautifully done. I'm sure Chris would appreciate the that yellow to orange fades there. Nope.
I do like it. It's very nice. I do like he's got a little bit of cooling going on with the plasma and like the sort of spotlights on the forearm and the lenses. Like that's the other really cool tones anywhere on the model.
Yep. No, it's nice to have those just as that little sort of extra thing that draws your eye in.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. So next up is from 40k large model. I think it's Illuminor Zeras. Is that the name of it?
Yeah.
But yeah, the cool, one of the cool Necron characters that's drawing the life force out of a poor Imperial guy down the base. One of the things I loved here was how he used the so that in that backdrop, the that glowing green backdrop. So it's glowing bright green behind the center of that Necron where things get darker. And that life force is being pulled in. It gets darker as it comes closer to that Necron. And then the brightness of the where it's leaving the Imperial subject down the front is put against the sort of the shadow of the bottom of that doorway.
Right. So they offset. You've got the bright foreground with the dark background, and then you've got the dark foreground with the bright background.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that seeing that model too is great. It's super impressive looking. It's sort of extra props too because he like sandwiched it. Like you've got like the really dark sort of pyramid pieces.
Yeah.
Kind of framing up the model really nicely for you.
It pushes you right into the middle there for sure.
Yeah.
And one of the other things as well is that the angle of that staff, it draws your eye top left to bottom right.
Yep.
Which is what your eye wants to do as part of the sort of, or at least Western eyes who let you read from left to right, top to bottom.
Yep.
So you're always looking for that thing that can draw your eye down to the bottom right.
Yeah, it's a super nice mini.
Yeah.
Again, seeing all these in person was just incredible. Like they're so nice.
Yep. This one here is the wonderful skink from the Warhammer Underworlds warband group that won Slayer Sword. Jake, this is this is the model that sparked our conversation, our spirited discussion. But
good. It's nice. He did a good job with it.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. It was flawless, basically. So yeah, congratulations and well done. You don't always.
Again, like it's a great model. I think the big thing that floored me was seeing all like, and for people who weren't there, you got to remember there's like 20 giant 6-foot by 8-foot glass cases chock full of spectacular looking minis.
Yep.
And this model is great. And I was like, oh, that's a really good model. That'll probably win gold or silver for like single mini. And it did. It won gold for single mini.
Yep.
After seeing all the other stuff that was there, I never in a million years thought that this would win the Slayer Sword. Did not. He's great. It is a great paint job. But some of the stuff he was up against, I just did not see this, beating them out.
Yep.
His base work is great too. Like the little fern leaves are super cool.
Yep.
And it looks like he used the Green Stuff World like leaf punch to make all the little dry leaves and stuff. And like it like the model's great. Like there's zero mistakes on it.
Yep.
Like I said, I was just like, oh, I really did not think that was going to win the Slayer Sword.
Yep. I love it. I think it's awesome. And I have no problem with it being the Slayer Sword winner. And anyway, moving along. Yep. Oh, Scott. Eric said, Infamous Skink. Honestly, it was pretty incredible. Skink, the one this year's Golden Demon, was well done. Simple model, but flawless paint job. Definitely awesome Skink. Proves you don't have to do something crazy. David Humble says, happy looking Skink. He did indeed look happy. And so after the mini one, it was the loudest I've ever seen the internet painting community. Yeah, it's important to remember there is a difference between seeing a figure 2 feet away through glass and 6 inches from your face.
True, that's true.
Exactly. This one here, I grabbed Mamacon's fantastic Age of Sigmar unit. So again,
they look spectacular.
Yeah.
Like putting my face up against the glass, like leaving like nose prints, like they look so good. The sort of the burning ember runes inside the shield's mouth.
Yep.
That's awesome. The really subtle like spotlighting effects on all of the armor plates was dynamite. The shine on the weaponry that's all non-metallic.
Yep.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Like they look absolutely spectacular.
They do. They do look fantastic. James says, has the paint gotten better, or have artists figured out how to get more mileage? Bobby Wong was my painting hero, and I don't think his entries would place anymore. I think you're right. They wouldn't. There's everybody keeps pushing everybody forward. There's always somebody who wants to try something different, try something new, try something that other folks will then look at and go, oh, yeah, I think that would work if you just did this. There's lots of little tweaking going on, and there's so much of it happening, and it's so much of it happening in front of everybody now, because it happens online, it happens on Instagram, it happens on YouTube, that back in the days of Bobby Wong, we didn't have that. There wasn't that thing. It was it happened at a much slower pace. People only got together at Golden Demons or at other painting events and that kind of thing, and things filtered through in a much slower way. So there is an acceleration that's happened. So it feels much more stark for us, I think. But yeah, that unit looks fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah, they looked awesome. To be fair, almost all of the well, I shouldn't say almost all of. Yeah. A lot of the units for Age of Sigmar were the
Warcry. No, not Warcry.
Yep. Warhammer Underworld. Like somebody did the skeletons. They looked incredible.
Yep.
Somebody did the 4 vampires. They looked dynamite. Yeah, a lot of people use them, and they really they're brilliant sculpts as it is. But then with the paint jobs they did, they all looked fantastic. So.
Yeah, I think Anthony Wang got bronze with the Sepulchral Guard.
Yep.
But yeah,
they were super nice.
Absolutely spectacular. But next up, we've got a piece by Sam Lenz from it was the bronze winner from Large Model for Age of Sigmar.
This model stinks. Like he painted him so well. Like you can smell the stink coming off of it. It is ridiculous. This model looks fantastic.
Sorry, for a second there, I thought it was real. It's like Sam had actually hidden something inside that was rotting.
I mean, he might have chucked in some old roast beef or something in like the model, but it almost looks fuzzy in spots because he did such a good job with the detail. Like it just looks like there's stuff growing on it. It's gross.
Super moldy and okay.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Fantastic. Yeah. I love all the work Sam does, and his awesome banners are super cool too.
I like the million little nerdlings holding him up too.
Yeah.
Like this model is just it is gross. Like in the best way. Like it is gross.
It is indeed.
Papa Nurgle indeed would be pleased.
I think so.
Pretty sure Sam got cholera painting this mini.
Cool. I also just realized, my apologies, that I'd left one of the other images behind it as I transitioned.
Yeah, I see the LD off to the side.
Yeah. Oh, I'll fix it up for the next one as that comes through. But yes, the next one is Lord of the Rings. So this was the gold place. Was from James Cordwell. It's the King of the Dead.
Yeah.
And I really love this one because of the has a diamond shaped composition.
Yeah.
So your eye wants to move from the head, follow the line of the sword, sort of down to the right, to the corner of the stonework, then move down to the skulls.
Yep.
And then follow the line of that. There's the rocks behind form that as well. So it's following that line back up and then around the diamond again.
Yeah. No, I also like that he did like a high-low thing where like you like the two sort of highest points of color are the pile of skulls at the bottom
Yep.
and like the top of his like forehead sort of ridge. Like those are the so your eye wants to go back and forth. It's the same thing as the diamond.
Yep.
But I think by doing that it stretches the model and it gives it a lot more dimensionality. Like even the fact that he made it on like what is essentially a floating base over like the pile of skulls.
Yep.
It really is a great model. Like he did a fantastic job. His source lighting is impeccable.
Yep. It's fantastic. And one of the things I like as well is that you do have those 2 points, but the skulls are definitely the secondary point.
Yeah.
They're not as intense as the face.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it sort of draws it back to the model rather than having the base fight with it.
Yeah, and he also like the lighting is definitely coming from the ghost himself because like you've got a little bit of the highlighting on like the columns and like the leading edge of the stones and stuff, and then it gets cooler as it goes, and then it sort of flattens out for the skulls.
Yeah.
But like they're not like the tops of the skulls don't have green highlights. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
because they're under his robes. No, it's really cool. It was a great model to see in person. So
yeah, definitely cool. Just quickly, Josh says, well, Devil in Mud did have a particular parfum to it. It did,
it
indeed.
definitely did.
Moving along, Diorama at Golden Demon US at Adepticon was won by Andy Wardle. Now, this photo is one of those things where Diorama typically have a particular position to shoot it from, and this is not that angle.
Right.
But it has so you've got 2 witch hunters there facing off against a vampire, one of the winged vampires from the Warhammer Underworlds MOCs, but looking up the stream there, like a almost frozen stream. Sort of, it could be anyway. It could be in the wilds of the old world. It has very.
And then there's like 2 big. I think there's 2 or 3 big like wolves.
I can't. Yes, I think you might be right.
But like 2 on the side of the woods, and then there's another one on the other side underneath. Because there's like a rock that the vampire's standing on. There's like another one.
Yep. And that's one of those things where if you don't have the right angle, if I haven't shot it from the right angle. But yeah, this is fantastic diorama to see, and he did a really lovely job.
This diorama reminded me of there's a really old like action film called Brotherhood of the Wolf.
All right. Yep.
And it's basically 2 monster hunters like hunting down like wolves. It's phenomenal. But like as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh my god, it looks like that.
Yep. Definitely like that for sure. And I guess Rick must have taken a little bit of time off because he's only just noticed that Eric is in the chat.
Right.
Next up, we've got we mentioned the duel with Sanguinius fighting Kabanda.
Oh,
which was
so
won
good.
by Ben Comets, which was absolutely spectacular.
That might have been my favorite piece in the cases.
Right.
Like it's so good. Like the conversion. Like I'm a huge fan of conversion, and the conversion work that he did building a bloodthirster, like making Kabanda, is absurd.
Yep.
I was trying to piece everything together, and he's got. So the arms actually are the arms from the Sigmarite Dragon kit, but then the torso, he's got pieces from one of the Chaos. I forget what they're called. It's one of the bigger pieces, and then he's got the shoulder pad from the actual Bloodthirster kit. He's got the axe from the Bloodthirster kit. He's used parts of the legs from the Bloodthirsters, but then he's got the wings again from the Dragon kit.
Yep.
And then he used, I forget what the head was. I think the head was part of the dragon, but then he changed the face a little bit to make it shorter.
Yep.
I mean, it's phenomenal. It's that model alone is dynamite, but the whole thing with Sanguinius about to like smoke this fool and
yep. Scott said, Scott said, really old. Brotherhood of the Wolf is probably post 2000. I'm gonna go check. That's what I was looking at actually, just quickly. And yeah, that movie is from 2001.
So it's still it's 21 years old. It's not like it came out. You're like, oh, it came out like 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Anything older than 2 decades. I'm like, okay.
Excellent. And now we finally reached the gold in open competition. With painted by the delightful Eric Swinson. So absolutely beautiful piece. It's another one that you'll like, Jake, because it's Mephiston.
Yeah, he rules.
Yep. So Eric, was was sculpted by, was this Joaquin Palacios who sculpted this? I can't remember, but absolutely killer paint job on it.
Yeah. The light effect is great. Like when I first saw this, immediately like his face, he looks like how Malekith looks in the comics.
Right.
Because like looking at it, his left half, the right half that we're looking at of his face, it's like very pale looking, and then the other half, because of the light, it's very dark.
Right.
So he has a two-tone face, which immediately I was like, oh, it looks like Malekith. But yeah, this model is dynamite. Like the lighting is so good. Like all the wrinkles in the robe and the I guess the first third of the sword literally looks like it had an LED in it and it was clear yellow crystal. It was done so well.
Yep. No, absolutely, absolutely amazing. And this is one of the things where, so I think in the open category that you're able to collaborate with somebody. So this is a one-off sculpt done by Joaquin Palacios. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And painted by Eric. In some of the photos we were coming up, actually might be the very next photo from the UK Golden Demons. We'll see a model that's not in the open category that was sculpted by, I think it was sculpted by somebody else and painted by the winner. So I'm not sure how they're working with that restriction guideline, call it what you will. But yeah, no, this one was absolutely spectacular.
He's super cool. I was kind of surprised that they used this, or that GW was okay with this, because it's technically not a Games Workshop model. Like it is, but it isn't.
That's what I was saying. In the rules, that you're allowed to essentially have a scratch sculpted model, so as long as it fits with their background and all that kind of thing. And obviously, the only problem is if it's commercially available, because that's somebody profiting from their intellectual property.
Right.
Whereas this isn't. This is Eric paying Joaquin to sculpt the model, and then
it's like it's literally a one-off. Okay.
Yeah, literally a one-off.
Okay.
So there we go. Yeah, no restriction on collaboration between sculptor and painter. You just have to do all the painting yourself. So there we go. Right from the
great job. He's
yeah.
I imagine he's about to crush a Chaos Warhound with his mind like a beer can. Just
nice. He might be about to do that. So yeah, that brings us up to the event from not last weekend, but the weekend before. Golden Demon in the UK. So this first model is a scratch sculpt as well, and this is an orc size model, so it's just a little bit shorter than a Primaris Space Marine. Just an incredible amount of detail in it.
That's a 32 mil figure.
Well, yeah, like size wise, that would be just a little bit shorter than that dude.
Oh, that's crazy. When I saw that, I thought he was like bigger than.
Yeah. No.
Oh yeah, I thought he was way bigger than that.
Okay, cool. So Eric says that this one was actually sculpted by Maxime, but sculpted 13 years ago. So, Yeah, you're right. He is an incredible sculptor. That's amazing.
A Nurgle orc.
Yeah, but it just looks fantastic, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's so much going on. There's so many different like effects and techniques. Like you've got the water effect base, which is always a crowd pleaser. Everybody loves it. It's super cool to do.
Yep.
It gives you a nice wet element, and then you've got like he's got tons of like metallic that are all different techniques. So he's got like rusted bits and like super shiny parts. It's all non-metallic, and then you've got like the flesh itself, and then you've got like the putrescence and like the mouth is amazing. There's so many different color pieces there. Like yeah, it's a really really cool mini.
Yeah.
He's impressive.
It is absolutely spectacular there. Next up, I've got the silver for single miniature. I wanted to put this in because I wanted to show that we've talked about. I think we've touched on style before, and there's the idea that Games Workshop wants to see a particular style. They want to see the heavy metal style, whatever. But comparing Maxime's piece to like as gold and this is second as silver, they're two very different styles. Personally, I like this one a little bit better. I'm preferential to this style. I just love that. Just got that wonderful sort of little cartoony kind of feel.
Yeah.
Cartoony is not a great word for it. I don't know. I don't have the right words to describe it.
So this looks like one of the illustrations out of the like old Orc Codex is what it looks like. Like this looks like it's.
Yeah, it does have a definitely has a drawn kind of feel to it. But yeah, just there's a certain cell shading kind of feel in there as well. But just the level of detail and the attention paid to how everything works together is lovely.
Yeah, there's so much going on too, which I really dig. This has a lot of those little like Easter eggs. Like the more you look at it, the more stuff you see.
Yep.
Sure. And there's just it's just done so well. Like you've got like the stuff dripping out of the moon on the staff, and then you've got the Space Marine helmet, which is a whole nother approach with different like tonality.
Yep.
And then you've got like his super dark nails,
right?
And then the pink on his palms and on his nose and on his ears and on his knees, and then the cactuses look great. And then as you go down the base, the little what do you call it? What is he called? They got the one eye. I'm totally spacing out. Orcs eat them.
Squigs.
Squigs, yeah, the squig down there with his little targeting lens,
right.
And the eye on the squig is super cool, and it's hiding this giant like metal skull with tusks on it, like so he got a chance to do like natural like bone and horn, and then there's an orc skull buried in the sand, and then as you go back up the other side, like his cloak, like the shading and the patterning on the cloak, it literally looks like it's worn burlap, like it's all patchy looking.
Yep.
And then the skulls are highlighted really cool, like really really gently shaded. And then even the tones on the smoke, like it has the red undertone from like the warm desert, like in the rocks he's on, and then like the cooler gray on the top.
Yeah.
It literally this looks like an illustration that somebody did. This does not look like this does not look like a 3D model. It looks like a 2D picture.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Just saying 2D techniques on 3D surfaces viewed on 2D devices. Yep. It's all sorts of wonderful.
It's amazing.
Playing around there. So we need to probably pick up the pace a little bit.
Okay.
But the next one here, I think this is one where either we've been treated really well by the presentation of the other models, but this was the gold squad for it. I wanted to keep this in there so we can see Alfonso's name. But it'd be very cool. Hopefully, Warhammer Community will come back and show us individual photos of each of those.
Yeah, they're hard to see.
But yeah, you've got that fantastic Ogren. You've got is it Sly Marbo?
Yeah. Yep. So the thing that's super cool about this picture is that it's basically 3 limited edition figures.
Yep.
The 3 in the middle are limited. So that's Sly Marbo on the middle left.
Yep.
That's we've all been calling him Sergeant Johnson because it looks like Avery Johnson from the Halo cartoon.
Right.
In the middle, or it's Carl Weathers from Predator.
Yep.
And then you've got the girl we've all been calling Vasquez, who is she's got her robotic leg and her heavy gun over her shoulder. She is a fucking badass. I'm sorry, pardon my language.
Oh.
She is one of my favorite minis of all time.
Yep.
And then they've got the Rattling Sniper on the right is one of the limited ones, or not limited. It's one of the ones that was from the
Blackstone
box
Fortress?
game. Yeah, Blackstone is one of the ones that's in there, and you can't buy him separately. He only comes in that box. And then the Ogren, I think that's a converted. I think that's the Nork Deadog that comes in the
Yeah,
right?
that's built from the kit. There's probably a conversion in there for sure, but
yeah. But I mean, yeah, that whole squad, you're like, man, he really had to work to get those models.
yeah. But no, they look fantastic. And I want to show this one as well. I love this one and the presentation of it. Having these orcs, basically orc commando squad. So the commandos from Kill Team, I think, primarily based on those.
Yeah.
Coming down a hillside.
Dude, the Bomb Squig is the best. I love that guy. He's just amazing.
But I really enjoyed this. It wasn't like the hill wasn't coming down directly towards you.
Yeah.
It's coming down. It's like going off to the side.
Yeah.
So it's not. It doesn't give you a sense of even ground or sort of generally sloping hills or anything like that. It's an uneven ground. They're stalking their way through the forest, which looks absolutely great.
That's super cool.
So Eric has said, I think changing the rules to make it so the squad doesn't have to be game legal makes the category way more interesting. I totally agree. Yeah. It's, and particularly if you had people, what we've had in the past, where it was supposed to be game legal, people who are accepting entries in, to make sure that everything's game legal, you're going to have people there who know all of the rules, know all of the units, and what they can do, and you can't have that. You can't get that for an intake at Golden Demon. So quite often you'd get squads that weren't game legal, and so I think the idea of just removing it has worked wonders. And the presentations are fantastic. Obviously, we've seen the way that they've jumped up this year. Next up, we have probably the craziest vehicle you will ever see. And going back to like painting, creating and painting specifically for yourself. Sorry, I'm just not sure, for some reason my computer is all of a sudden wanting to verify Microsoft Outlook.
Oh man, you gotta love Dave Soper. He loves pinks and greens, like that's his go-to. He's so good at it.
Oh yeah, absolutely amazing. But so 1990, David Soper won the Slayer Sword with a Nurgle Predator that he converted, which is one of the most famous Nurgle Predators, probably the most famous Nurgle Predator.
He also had the diorama with the giant, the wraith. There was a predator. It was a Phantom Titan using epic stuff as marionettes.
Right. Yep.
He had two that finished top.
Yep. Well, he's actually won the Slayer Sword 5 times.
Yikes!
Pretty crazy. But initially, he was going to. He was working towards having this being finished for Golden Demon 2020, which would have been his the 30 years since the previous one. But obviously didn't happen. So this is his first opportunity to go to one, and it's an incredible piece. Spectacular amounts of work. But David Soper has an awesome blog. I think it might just be called like David Soper Paints or something like that. But super talented. Definitely go and check out his blog.
That thing is incredible.
But, yeah. 40K large model. It's one of my favorites. I love this. Love this piece. The Lord Discordant from the Chaos Space Marine range. It's just such an awesome model and great sort of demon engine concept. Huge fan of it, and I think this is a wonderful paint job. I love the creams of the armor, and just work really well against all of that rust.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Nicely balanced with that little bit of the teal top knot.
Yeah.
But super cool stuff there.
It's like the sand looks real, which is hard to do.
Yeah. Yep. So those nice ripples in there.
Yeah, he's got some great color work in here. Like he's got that nice like top left to bottom right slash of red. Like you've got the red tuft, and then the red on the belt, and then the red on the cables, and then the sash he's wearing that's all red.
Yep.
Just kind of slides across the model. He's done a great job with his like color and stuff.
Definitely, absolutely awesome. Then just quickly, so Albert Morado, who did the 40K Gretchen Shaman up on the rock.
This guy's great.
So he did the same artist did this piece, and I saw again an interview on Cult of Paint on their YouTube channel. He was saying that he kind of thinks of these two as the 40K version, like being a descendant of this goblin.
Right on. I can see that.
So there are a lot of connecting elements through there, even though they're both basically fungus, I think.
So good.
But yeah, so definitely a beautiful model. But again, in that style, that 2D style.
It's a fantastic paint job.
Yeah. Scott says, I'm working on my GD entry right now. I'm still committed to my plan A of sleeping my way to the top. But Eric, can I count on you for some introductions and discretion? Awesome. And Eric said, I love those sloped bases. Really makes the main view more interesting. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think base work has come a long way. I think that if you have a really good base, we've talked about this before. I think a good base job on your models instantly takes a pretty good paint job and immediately makes it better.
Yep. Definitely.
And anytime you can add like dynamism or any kind of like, difference in angles and stuff, I think it helps. So.
Yep. And Eric says he has no sway at Golden Demon. Speaking of basing, base work. So this miniature is silver in the Age of Sigmar category. Sten Froden, this Dark Oath Chieftain. But it's on it's a piece of ground that has been essentially ripped out and is floating. It's not technically floating, but the way that he's presented it is that wonderful sort of floating look, much like the winning duel at Adepticon, which was the Lion versus Lehman Russ.
Yeah, they're on that big floating like staircase thing.
Yeah, but again, flawless painting and basing.
I don't know why this guy looks so mad. He should just put down his sword and his axe and like lay down here in the sun and take a nap. He'll be fine.
It's all the stones. He's gonna.
Yeah, right where he's standing there, he could just throw a couple of those stones down the hill. He'll be fine.
It's true. But yeah, beautiful work there. This was another fun piece from a sort of arrangement of the models. So it's the bronze unit winner from Age of Sigmar unit. It's the Skaven Gutter Runners.
Yeah, this is super cool.
Sort of running down the wall. Yeah, just a different presentation. As Eric mentioned before, like removing that game legal sort of sense. Just put the emphasis on doing wild and crazy things. So
I think adding that element of verticality really gives this whole thing a sense of motion and movement. It makes the gutter runners look even more like slippery and dangerous than than you would think that they are.
Yep. Then they actually end up being against your Stormcast Eternals. Yeah.
Sure.
Definitely. But no, awesome work there. Next up, this is a large model. Gold.
This is what I think it is.
Pardon?
Is this what I think it is? Oh no, okay.
Yeah, it's the Lord Croak from Chris Clayton. But an absolutely fantastic piece. This photo was great. I think the first couple of photos I saw were, again, like from 2 feet away through glass. And the greens were all very similar. But seeing this sort of well-shot photo, it's absolutely great. Again, loads of wonderful details. You got that sloping base that Eric was mentioning before, bringing everything to the front.
Yeah, there's like 16 shades of green in this model. It's
there's a whole bunch of
that's the most psyched I've seen Croak in a long time.
Right. This is true. This is a young Croak, obviously.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. But so this was Chris Clayton who won the Slayer Sword. And I think so this is the most recent piece that he entered of his the 3 entries that he had. So he worked on this year, I think. But looking,
it's good,
absolutely gorgeous.
We got anything else?
We do. We've still got a few more, so we'll run through them quickly. But I wanted to show this one. This is David Aroba's Kragnos. I don't know if you've seen photos of this yet.
I haven't. Kragnos is such a cool model.
Yep.
Yeah, he looks dope.
Yep. Just quickly, Scott says, I'm not sure where squad entry ends and diorama entry begins. Yeah, that's a good question. I think if it's the focus is the squad or the unit, then it's going to be in the unit. If it focuses a story that's being told, then it's going to be in diorama.
Yeah.
That might be the delineation. It's fairly vague. But anyway, this Kragnos here, David Aroba's Kragnos, is just absolutely amazing. And David Aroba's painting style has got that wonderful glow to it anyway. And doing it on this model is just spectacular.
Yeah, it's super nice.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much to look at. This is another one. Like, you can get lost in this going on.
Absolutely.
It's super cool. I love the gold and the green, like the sort of the verdigris on like the metal is just such a cool look, and he did it as a really cool like spot color too. It's just, he's awesome. Yeah. It's very Aztec looking with like the gold and the lapis kind of colors.
Yeah, it does have that kind of feel to it. No doubt. But no, Kragnos looks awesome there. Transitioning again to the next.
Lord Croak, the college years.
Yeah. Excellent. So it says, I'm out. Good stream, dudes. I'll catch the rest later. Very cool. We've got about 6 more models to check out. This one, I plucked this out. Again, it's an interesting presentation of a single model for Lord of the Rings. But yeah, I always love this Gollum figure. They're the one eating the fish.
Yeah, this is really cool too.
Yeah. Great.
And like to Scott's point, this would be like, is this single model or is this a diorama?
This could almost be in diorama.
Yeah.
But fortunately, there's a Lord of the Rings category, so you can move it into there.
All right. Yeah.
But yeah, I love this job. I think first place in this was an Elrond model, one of the new plastic Elronds. Very simple base. Second place was Aragorn, sort of running past a tree or two. So it's a little bit more involved, but this had a very involved base. Yeah, as Dave says, it's a semi-hard sculpt to get. You're going to have to be hunting around on eBay for that one. But lovely work. Okay, Eric says the Middle Earth category is whatever you want as long as it's Middle Earth. So you got a lot of freedom there.
Makes sense.
For sure.
This model's awesome.
I thought you would like this one.
Yeah, Orion rules. Like, this is such a great piece.
Yeah, it is an awesome reimagining of Orion using Magnus the Red, the Demon Primarch model, as the base. So loads of awesome conversion work. All of that that fur on his legs to give him that the fawn kind of look.
Yep.
It's just amazing. He's the most buff Mr. Tumnus ever.
Yeah, 100%.
But again, that sloped, sort of the slope coming down towards the viewer, keeps everything nice and open.
There's so much going on with this model. Like, you've got all the little blue fairies flitting around on the base, and again, he's got a water effect.
Yep.
Anytime you do a really good job painting Earth and then you put snow on top of it, it just gives it that sort of like realistic look. And like the whole idea is like he's supposed to be the marker of spring, so like he's showing up. Yeah, it's awesome. It's just such a great piece.
Yep. As Dave says, "Oh my green overload." Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those greens there, just in that triangle, just moving, keeping your eye moving around.
Yep.
The piece, but yeah, beautiful work there.
The houses are awesome too.
They are. Yep. There's a little bit of the Ghostbusters kind of hounds about them.
Yeah. Like the one on the our left, his like left paw is like knitting itself together as he's jumping, which is super cool.
Yep. Awesome. So we're going to move on to I've skipped Duel because we took a look at Chris Clayton's sword winner last week.
Oh my god. I heard that model for hours.
We don't want to be here for another couple of hours. So just quickly, Dave Perryman's small scale gold is one of the Eldar Aeronautica Flyers. And I wanted to include this one because stylistically it is very much like the heavy metal style.
Yeah.
With the loads of edge highlighting along all of those panel lines. The subtle highlights on the curved areas. But it's just really, really spectacularly done. And with that, putting it on that plinth with that wonderful like green fade behind it.
Yeah.
It does look like it's diving through an atmosphere and gives a sense of place to it.
Yeah, it's super cool. Like literally you'd look at this and you're like, oh, this is the heavy metal team painting the 32 mil one. And you're like, no. This is somebody who painted the one that's like, 2 inches across.
This big. The tiny one. Exactly. I've included a Youngbloods as well, just because the 3 winning Youngbloods entries were all absolutely spectacular. Because they're like 14 or younger. That's just amazing. Means they...
No, they're not. His dad painted this. This is a 37-year-old.
Awesome. No, but I this model is cool, and I don't think I'd actually seen it before until the Golden Demons. But pardon?
Those are the Easterlings, I believe.
Yep, they are. So there's a king there on that awesome palanquin.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, it just looks absolutely spectacular. But it just means that the future of miniature painting is in good hands. Definitely.
It's really good.
And the final one I thought we'd show is in the open category. So this is the piece from Tom Hughes. Tom Hughes is a member of the Citadel Miniatures sculpting team, and his Instagram account is well worth checking out. He's put up some fantastic images recently of this, and some shots of his first sculpt of it, and how he adjusted it and where it moved, sort of to come to this sculpt. But he sculpted this digitally. I think it's 1/6 scale or 1/4 scale, so it's a pretty
big,
decent size. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Eric says 1/4 scale. Yeah, so 1/4 scale. Meaning that it's a quarter of the size of the actual Tau that it would.
It's like he made a 3-year-old Tau.
Yeah. Yes. Tau toddler, for sure. But yeah, as Dave said, the great good. No, the greatest good. But it is an absolutely spectacular piece, and the paint job is amazing. The texture on that skin is just
He looks real.
Incredibly beautifully done. But again, that's an example in the open competition there of not being a GW model that you can purchase, but it's very definitely, without a doubt, in the GW universe, in the 40K universe. So, well, Eric said the head is basically the size of your fist. I have tiny dainty hands, so it's maybe not the size of my fist, but yeah.
It's a great piece.
Yeah.
I feel like Tom Hughes has a little bit of a leg up on everybody being part of the sculpting team, but like,
well, I don't know. I mean, in that he gets to sculpt for a living every day.
Yeah.
Well, there are plenty of other people who get to sculpt for a living every day.
Like being like, you know what? I'm gonna sculpt something cool and unique that no one else has. I'll just do that.
Yeah, I'll just do that for sure. Darren Latham, who was senior miniatures designer, got bronze in this category after painting a model that I think he sculpted, but the production model of it. So it's the Leagues of Votan Carl.
Oh yeah, I saw that model looks great
in the orange armor. It looks fantastic.
What are they? I can't remember the name of that group.
Nor can I. The book's right down there. I don't want to pull it out. Other things will fall. But anyway, super cool. Yeah. Very nice stuff. But there we go. That has brought us to the end of the show. It's been a long one, but we had a lot of stuff to talk about, I think.
Show.
Pardon?
That is a marathon show.
Yep, absolutely marathon. So thank you, everybody who has stuck with us. We've had a pretty consistent look, which is great. So very nice. We've got a few people dropping off now, but so we should definitely start to wrap things up. Yeah, thanks everybody for chatting with us, talking about painting competitions. Thanks, Eric, for joining us. Thank you, Dave, Scott, Josh, Rick, Chris, Jeff,
Beth, Tim.
Yep, and everybody else.
There's a lot of Jim. My buddy Jim was on here. There's a lot of people.
Indeed. But thank you all. So don't forget, subscribe, like, comment, share, send it out to your friends.
Tell your friends.
Refer to us in passing conversation. See, hey, you guys should check out Build Paint.
Yeah, what do we want to do? What do we want to do for next week?
Oh, that's a good question. We haven't discussed that, have we?
We have not. We could talk about kill teams.
We could talk.
I know that next week we do kill team stuff coming out, so we could do like kill team squads and some of the stuff you could do.
Yeah. Oh, Betsy was here as well. Sorry, forgot Betsy. Yep. And Tim. So very cool. Thanks very much. Should we do kill teams? We've got to at some stage this month. We've got to do orcs.
Yeah, we do have to do orcs.
How about we get orcs out of the way next week? We'll do orcs.
All right, we'll do Orktober.
Yep. And just before Halloween, or just after Halloween, we'll do the day after Halloween we'll do demons.
And then you know what's coming in November, right?
No.
First of all, it's No Shave November, so you and I are gonna grow sweet mustaches, but also it's Thanksgiving, so we're gonna do a tank show.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, that's later in the month, but yes, we'll do Thanksgiving.
So we'll do orcs, and it could be any flavor of orcs.
Yeah, orcs from anywhere. It could be Tolkien's orcs. It could be
Urkai. They could be space orcs.
It could be orcs from
Jaws,
Zombicide, Green Tide.
Yeah. Any flavor of orc.
Yep, we definitely will be happy to talk about that. So Jake is stalling so I can remember to prepare for our transition to the outro.
Dan's gonna get us ready to go, but thank you guys so much for being here. We appreciate everybody kind of hanging out and being here to do their thing. And we will see you guys next week. Dave, you ready to go?
I think so.
Okay. So thank you guys for joining us, and as always, build, paint,
play.
Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.